problems faced by Aboriginal people today first began from generations of oppression and have resulted in a lack of trust towards white society. There are many different stereotypes that people hold in our society regarding Aboriginal Australians, most of them being negative ones. Some of the more common stereotypes held towards Aboriginal people are that they are drunks, they are violent, they are primitive and nomadic, they lack complex laws, are uneducated, are passive, lazy, and are more likely to be on benefits. I am joined today by Ted Wye, my uncle, who will be giving insight and knowledge into Aboriginal people as a group and how they have been oppressed for hundreds of years. Ted, I know your great-grandmother was part Aboriginal, so you have knowledge and insight into what life was like for Aboriginal people and the terrible things that happened to them, especially in relation to women and children. So how were women treated back then, as well as children?
Well, my ancestry goes back to the Bass Strait Islands, and those islands were populated by the sealers. They had no women back in those days, so the only source of women was the Aboriginal tribes living on the coast. So they'd raid the camps of the Aboriginal people living on the coast and take the women. If any the warriors put up a fight, they could be killed. So they'd take the women, take them back to the islands to be used as slaves back on those islands. There was no other source of women, because those islands were the end of the world. Because Tasmania was the place to be at the time. There was some settlement up in Sydney, but the main settlement was down in Tasmania. So it was the place to be at the time in Australia.
So I know you've spoken about how eventually they were able to see how women were important. So how did they evolve as a community?
Well, they were originally taken there as slaves, in menial tasks, and the children weren't really wanted. But the sealers came to realise how the benefits of those Aboriginal women. They were good workers, they knew how to hunt, fish, they could provide. The Aboriginal society was the women did a lot of the work, and so eventually a society evolved, like an equal society evolved between the sealers, and many of those sealers were runaway convicts from great-grandfather's runaway sailor. So a community evolved on those islands down there, and that's basically how on those islands.
Okay. So Aboriginal people are known as an oppressed group in society. Why do you think this is in relation to the Pioneer Wars, and how did the police come about of this?
Well, so first of all, the Aboriginal were never recognised by the government, by the colonial governments. So the colonial governments didn't realise the Aboriginal country, even Tasmania had about 7 different countries, sometimes hundreds of different individual countries throughout Australia. And even though the British government sent out orders, edicts to treat them properly, the actual colonial governments would lease out cattle runs to pastoralists. So those cattle runs were on Aboriginal land. And the same thing happened in Tasmania. It was a 34-year guerrilla war down there. As the Aboriginal people tried to defend their countries from the new settlers. And the same thing happened through Australia as there was a series of pioneer wars up through the country as more and more as the governments leased out these cattle runs and pastoral runs. They were occupied by Aboriginal people. That was their food source. That was their country. And they couldn't just move over to the next hill or go over to the next river, because that could be owned by a different country. An Aboriginal person couldn't go into another person's country. He could be killed or expect to get killed. And so there was this, they were stripped of their land. They couldn't. They tried. There were quite a few instances of freedom fighters trying to defend their land. But if they tried that, then the governments would send in. They actually appointed the native police, which they would send them in to kill and massacre because these native police would not go into their own country, they'd be going into another Aboriginal country, and they would massacre any time there was any sort of resistance. So yeah, it's that's basically what happened then.
Okay.
As for the attitude back then with the Anglo-Saxon white person was that they were a superior race, the Aboriginal people, because they looked on as being primitive, say the missing link, but sort of not as well advanced. There were academics in Europe who produced papers and wrote books saying it was the European governments are justified in taking land if it wasn't being utilised to the full extent. So that gave colonialists they felt they had the right to take the land, and they felt that the Aboriginal people could just assimilate, but they couldn't because it was a completely different culture. And the culture is very important, the place of country is very important to Aboriginal people.
So just to finish off, why do you think people in society have negative views, or do you think that there aren't as many negative attitudes? Have you ever seen negative, or have you seen positive attitudes in relation to Aboriginal people?
Well, personally I haven't. Aboriginal people I've met have been fine people, really nice people, very welcoming people. I think it comes down to underlying attitude back from the past where Anglo-Saxon people thought they were superior, and then because the Aboriginal people were dispossessed, they had a culture where they shared a lot. Like if someone an Aboriginal person had something, he'd be expected to share it with other people of his family, whereas that's not our way of doing it, so that wasn't appreciated by people, and a lot of them driven to drink and that sort of thing because they didn't have the opportunities. And it all comes also, they were never recognised. I mean, they were just, I think they were under the Flora and Fauna Act at one stage, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, all those things has an effect on your people, and it has an effect on generations as they grow up. I mean, you could say, "Oh, just forget about it." You can't forget about it when you know the ancestry and you know the history. I mean, people can't forget. I mean, bad example, I suppose, would be the Jewish people can't forget the Holocaust. And that sort of thing, you know. So yeah, Aboriginal people can't forget what happened.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Ted, for giving your time to discuss and give insight into the lives of Aboriginal people. For those watching, I hope this interview has given you a newfound understanding about what life was like for Aboriginal people, not only many years ago but in today's society also, and why Aboriginals are known as an oppressed group in our society today. Thank you.